Are you guys ready? Can we start? Oh, okay. Amy, and Lillian, sanitize your desks. Here, grab a paper towel in the back and sanitize your desk. Did you have your test? For tomorrow. I see. Amy and Lillian, hurry up. We're waiting.
Come on, guys.
Pressure.
Wait, Tiger, is yours recording or is it on there?
It's recording. Ryan, tell me if it stops recording, okay? No, I'll erase the chicken. Are they in? Are you guys in? You're in? Okay, let's start. Alright, so if you remember from our last meeting, we did derivatives, options, and futures. So we'll do a quick Kahoot on it, and then we won't do a current event today, so we'll do this, and then we'll get into personal finances with a focus on how to pay for college. Alright, let's start. If a company has 100,000 outstanding shares, and each share is valued at $10, what is market capitalization? Ooh, time's up. So if you remember, this is from our first lesson, a market capitalization is just the total value of the company, right? So if a company has 100,000 shares and each share is valued at $10, then the company will be worth $10 million. No, $1 million. Huh? Pardon?
I literally answered, but there's
100,000 times $10. No time? Hurry up. Harry gonna lose. Who's that? Is that you? Good job. All right. If earnings per share is $2 and share price $40, what is price to earnings ratio? We did this on the first lesson. Hey, most of you got it right. Good job. So if you remember, PE ratio is just the price of a company divided by how much money they make, right? So if they're making $2 and they're valued at $40, then their PE ratio will be 40 over 2, which is 20. So good job to those who got it right. What does buying a call option let you do? We did this one lesson ago.
No, that's a huge.
What? Who's the son? Makes sense. Good job. You're on the leaderboard. Oh, not anymore. Okay. Oh, this is a hard one, I think. Which of the following represents a call option? So your x-axis will be the underlying stock's price, and your y-axis will be your profits, your losses. We drew this graph last week, remember? We did the same graph. Yes, you have a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Okay, the red represents a put option. Who knows? Who knows what a put option is? You guys were here last week. Come on, put your hand up. All right. It's okay.
It's okay.
Who's Ryan?
Ryan is it's that. What is a credit default swap? Credit default swap. Were you here last week, Igor? Okay, then you should know this one.
Big Short. Man, there are a lot of actors. Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, and then
Steve.
Jim Carrey.
Michael Scott. Michael Scott.
Yeah, Michael Scott. Steve Carell.
All right. good job. Who's Tiger?
He's not even playing and he's on a leaderboard.
Who's Tiger?
I'm Tiger.
Why are you fourth?
Because I messed up the first two
You can buy a credit default swap on an asset you do not own. True or false? It's 10 seconds, hurry up.
we did this.
Yes.
Come on. Well, I can't say 50.
Alright, last question. This is just for Mr. Bolognese.
Oh no.
Answer truthfully or don't answer, but there's no right answer. Every answer is right and you'll get a 3,000 points. Oh, wait, never mind. Not this question. The next one, What is short selling? Think about GameStop. GameStonks. What is short selling?
Oh. I did what is selling.
Yeah, next one is
Short selling. Next one is a free question.
Oh, I got it right.
Woo, good job.
I'm not that bad at this.
Blue, when you sell a stock you already own. That's just selling without the short. Green, when you think a company's dividend payment will come short. I don't know what that is, but it's not the right answer, Green. Woo, good job for Ryan. Okay, last question.
Oh god.
How many children do you plan on having?
0. Where's adoption?
Adoption counts too.
Can't have. That's happening. Where's I can't have. No, I pick all of them.
You gotta be smart and pick all of them.
Huh?
I clicked all of them.
Let's see.
You gotta be smart and pick
Who
all
picked no children?
You gotta have 2.1. What?
You have to have 2.1.
Alright, Phil, can you switch to the PowerPoint?
Sunshine.
Okay, so having children is very important to Mr. Bolognese because the only way his pension funds gets paid for is if we keep pumping out children for the new workforce. Right?
Did you delete the slides? Do you want me to delete them right now?
No, it's fine.
Okay, we'll
I'll
just skip
them.
over.
Start from the beginning.
Yeah, I didn't lie about that.
We ready? Okay, so if you remember last week we did derivatives, right? Options, futures, and credit default swaps. Now, to get started, I want to ask you guys a question. Do you think you should be trading derivatives right now? Real money, not the game. Let's pick on Alejandro.
I have no idea.
Should you trade derivatives?
Yes.
If you have no idea, then why would you trade derivatives? Okay, let's pick on some Igor. Should you trade derivatives?
Right now, real
Yeah.
money? No.
No. And I would agree with that answer in saying that you should absolutely not trade derivatives because these are highly complicated financial products, right? And even if you understand them, it doesn't mean you should trade them. For example, I understand how an option works, but I don't trade options because they're too complicated for me. And if you think about it, what does it mean when you buy a stock?
You're buying a part of a company.
Yeah, you believe in the company. You believe in the idea of the company, right? When you buy a bond, you're lending money to the company. You believe that the company will pay you back. But what's happening when you make a derivative? What's happening when you make a derivative? Harry, what's happening when you make a derivative? When you bet on a derivative?
I don't know.
Yes.
Aren't you just betting on the stock price of it going up or down?
Yeah, you're basically gambling, right? If I make a derivative bet with you, I'm just betting with you on something. So it's more like you're gambling. And odds are right now, I think all of you are very smart people, right? But you will not be smarter than the person who sold you the derivative, the guy on the other side. It's that you're not smarter than Wall Street right now. So I think you should not trade derivatives. Does that make sense? All right, that's just a heads up. Today we'll be doing something more relevant to everyone, and that's personal finances. We'll split it up into saving, earnings, and spending. And we will be focusing on how to pay for university. All right, saving and budgeting. So to start off, I just want to say, money is something that we should all care about, right? Often with finances, what we do, and it's human psychology, finances is intimidating subject. So what we'll do is we'll ignore it because we find it too scary for us, or we don't want to look into it because we don't like the answer that it gives us. So the first thing I want to say before we start, it's a tip. Don't ruin your life. Live below your means and don't buy expensive stuff. So don't buy expensive stuff. Not necessarily expensive stuff, but don't buy stuff you cannot afford. Next one. Know what it is important to you. So just because you should live below your means and consider your spending, it doesn't mean you can't spend money. But consider what is important to you. So are you an experienced type of person or a material type of person, right? Budget and keep track of your spending. So right now, how many of you have a job in here and are producing income? So good job. And how many of you are spending money? Should be all of you. You don't spend money?
I mean, it's just in the bank account or in the investment account, so
Where do you think that money comes from?
sometimes my allowance and like just
Okay.
tax your money.
Right, so even if you don't make money, I recommend, so budget and keep track of what you're spending money on, right? And the next one, it's plan ahead for big things. So for example, right now, many of us are going to college, right? You should plan ahead for that, or moving out, or your first car. You should plan ahead of it. Now, there are bigger things I want to talk about that you should plan for. What are some bigger things that you should plan for? Yes?
Property? Your first property?
No, I will consider that big things, but not like big things. Yes?
Like emergency spending in case you lose your job or something goes bad.
I'm thinking bigger. Bigger. Shreya, what's bigger? What's a really big thing that I should plan for? Yes.
Retirement?
Okay, that's a good one. Yes.
Children?
Yes, children. Plan ahead for children.
Hey, this is biased.
No, let me finish. There are many things I should plan for. These are big things. College, first car, moving out. But the other two big things I want to talk about that I should plan for, it's one, marriage and kids. Right? So many of us think of marriage as like this romantic decision. But I want you to think of it as also a financial kind of decision.
You lose half your money.
I'm being serious here. What percent of marriages do you think breaks up because of finance? What percent of divorces are due to finance? Carmen, do you have an answer?
35%?
Oh, I'm looking through my stats. 46%. And comparatively, only 25% of marriages are due to infidelity, which means cheating, for those of you that don't know. So you have a higher chance of being divorced over finances than cheating. Now, what percent of marriages do you think ends up in divorce in Canada? What is the divorce rate? Harry, what's the divorce rate in Canada? Less than 10%. Leo, that's too low. Leo? Ryan. Sorry, man.
20%?
20%. No, higher.
Really?
Yes,
I
Kyle.
think it's around 50, isn't it?
38%.
50?
That's a pretty high number. Now look, if I had a stock that had a 38% chance of failing, then you know well that I'm going to hedge the risk, right? I will plan ahead for it. And this means you will either buy a credit default swap or a put option on it, right? And for marriage, if you know your marriage has a 38% chance of failing,
How do you mitigate risk on marriage?
you should consider financially what that might mean. For example, a prenup. Now this might be pretty early, but even if you don't want to have a prenup, right? You should but talk with your partner about finances. Are you guys a spending or a savings type of couple, right? Do you guys want to combine finances or separate finances? Now this is quite early for us to think about, but it's a good thing to remember, right? Because this is like a partner for life. These are pretty big things, and although they're probably romance and love decisions, you should think about them in terms of finance as well. And the other thing is kids. I want to talk about kids. Kids are expensive. So here's what we're going to talk about. Oh, last question before we skip to the next one. Ask yourself, can I afford this? And second is, will this truly make you happier, right? The example I want to give is a new car. When you first buy a new car, you might not be able to afford it at such a young age, right? It might make you happy, but after 1 or 2 years, the car's going to depreciate, and the car might look like a burden to you. Every time you see the car, you're like, oh God, I still got to pay for that thing, right? So just always ask yourself, can I afford this, and will this truly make me happier? All right, next one. Anyone know what this is?
Car.
Now, anyone know what this is?
Child.
All right, so this thing, it's a Lamborghini Huracan.
Oh, I see.
It's a pretty cool car. It's one of my dream cars, and it cost about the same as, right? How much do you think these things cost? Yes.
200 to 250,000.
290,000. It's the average cost of raising a child to 18 in Canada, right? But this one, don't necessarily think of your child as yes.
You should think of your child as an investment because in the future they can pay for retirement.
Go on. You should take geo. Are you taking geo next year? Or are you grade 9?
He's currently grade 9.
Okay. Consider taking geo. So yeah.
He's grade 9.
Yeah.
Also, he's my year.
Yeah. Okay. So
I'm already recruiting, so there you go.
do you plan on having kids?
I guess, sure.
How many? 2.1?
One or like 2.
Oh, okay, 2. Go with 2. Anyways, my point is, don't necessarily just think about kids as being money, right? Or cars being money, but think about the financial side of it. What I mean by this is, your kid, don't put a price tag on children, right? Like for example, all of us will have a price tag on us. But what I mean is, think about the financial decisions, right? Like for example, if your kid is going to college in the future, or if you want to pay for things for them, think about the cost of child. So the costs are roughly $290,000, but this is over the 18 years of a child's life. But it will most likely be higher for us, it will most likely be higher if your kids plan on doing like extracurriculars, or if you plan on doing piano lessons for them. So, with that out of the side, we'll start with our first one, interest and debt. There are 2 types of interest. What's the first type of interest? Drea. Compound. Okay, that's one type. Compounded. Yes? What's the second type of interest? Nathan?
I think it's the compounding is like you earn interest off the money that you earn interest already, and then the other one's just the base money.
Yeah, so simple and compounded interest, right? So we'll talk about 2 things. So, simple interest is just interest that isn't being compounded, right? So for example, if I lent you $100, right, and I say you have an interest, a simple interest of 10% per year, that means every year you will pay me $10. Does that make sense? And if I do compounded interest, what does that mean? Harry, what does it mean for compounded interest? Sure. Yes.
So basically, compound interest can come in many forms. Like it could be compounded yearly, monthly, weekly, or continuously. And for example, let's just say you have a bank and then you put $100 in.
So let's start with 100.
The interest rate is 1% annually. So
Let's do 10%.
oh, okay. So the second year would be $110, and then the
110
third
second
year
year.
would be $121.
Now, why is it the $121 the next year?
Because you get interest on the interest.
Yeah. So if you do $100, right, you get 10% on it. It's $110. So the next year, your 10% will not be based off of the $100, but will be based off the 110. So your interest will be 10% of 110, which is 11, which makes you get to 121, right? Does that make sense? All right, and then there's the second thing. It's the rule of 72, which is something that you can divide into. It's the amount of time that it takes for your money to double at a certain interest rate. So for example, if your interest rate is 10%, what would your doubling time be? Leo, what's your doubling time with the rule of 72?
7.2 years.
Yeah. So what it does is just say you have your interest rate, right? And then you divide 72 by it. So if your interest rate was 1% compounded annually, what would your doubling time be? Pardon?
72 years.
Yeah. 72 years. Does this make sense to everyone? The rule of 72. It just gives you a rough estimate of how long it takes for your money to double, compounded annually at a certain interest rate. Does that make sense? And then there's someone at the door, Mr. Bolognese.
No, keep going, keep going.
Okay, so for every debt repayment, right, there's 2 sectors of it, and one is principal and one is interest. Janet, what's principal? So principal, it's the amount of money you owe, right? And interest, it's the amount of interest you have to pay. So let's say you have a mortgage, right? And you make $100 payment towards it, right? There's the interest payment towards it, and the principal sector of it, right? So let's say $50 goes to interest. That's just how much you're paying the bank to lend you money, right? And $50 goes towards principal. Paying down the principal just means you're reducing your debt. Does that make sense? All right, let's keep going. Debt. Oh, question for you, Ryan. Why do interest rates go up and down?
Well, it depends on how much people are loaning the money and
No, generally, not for you. Generally, in the economy, why does interest rates move up and down?
it depends on the economy,
Who decides?
the government.
Yeah. So this is just an aside, right? So interest rates are determined by the federal bank. When the economy is doing well, they will keep interest rates high, right? And what this does is just it prevents inflation from getting out of hand, right? You're keeping prices in control. And when the economy is doing bad, like for example right now, they will keep interest rates low so that people can borrow money and they can go spend, right? So interest rates right now in America, it's I think 0.25% or 0%. So it's a very low interest rate. Yes, Chris.
Do negative interest rates actually work?
What do you mean?
I
They
heard that
exist.
They exist, but do they work? Like, does it actually have a positive impact on the economy?
Okay, sorry. He's sorry.
I think that's complicated. We'll talk about negative interest rates when we talk about bonds.
That's why I forgot. Sorry.
All right.
I forgot.
So for debt, does anyone know what a FICO score is?
Okay.
FICO score.
Tiger.
Yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Because they've got a pro D day on Friday, about Wednesday in here.
Mm-hmm.
So how much longer do you guys need to be in here for?
Oh, they have a class in here?
Yes, I'm sorry. I'll find another class for you guys to move to. Okay, just give me a second. I apologize. All right.
It's
All right. So yeah, let me find one.
What if we delay to next week?
What's that?
Like
Like Wednesday next week.
Delay what?
to do this?
You guys can do whatever you want, right? It's not a real class.
Okay.
Unless they're paying for this and they want money from you.
Where's my money?
Right? It's because of Pro D. I forgot
Yeah,
that the grade 12s have a class in here at this time.
Okay.
Not at this time, in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Can we just move to another class?
No, because I have class too, and I'm missing class for this. I-
It's Mandarin.
Is it Mandarin? Oh,
yeah,
oh,
yeah.
okay.
I talked to my Mandarin teacher about this. Okay. Let's continue this next week. So, one quick thing before we
Sorry,
go.
guys.
Respond on Teams, right? So I'm making an announcement before the meeting, right? Just give me a thumbs up on there so I know if you're coming. And that's just how we take attendance for contact tracing, right? Otherwise, I'm sorry about today, guys. We'll meet again next Wednesday, okay? Great.
Sorry, guys.
It's okay.